Coningsby is a small rural village tucked between the Lincolnshire fens and the wolds in the East Midlands. Best known for its military history with a nearby RAF base home to the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, where a number of historic planes from World War II make regular flights. It's also not far from Tattershall Castle and a medieval college. But one of the more unusual sights in Coningsby is its peculiar church clock. Join me as we find out what makes this timepiece so unique. I'm your host Prash, and this is Curious Britain. St Michael's Church in Coningsby village has seen many things in its long life. It dates back to the 15th century and has played host to countless weddings, funerals and Sunday sermons, offering solace and celebrations to the local community since the 1400s. Could it talk? There's no doubt that the church would have many stories to tell. But one of its most curious attractions is the unusual clock on its tower, which was added at some point in the 17th century. Over 16 feet in diameter, it's the largest clock of its kind in England, and its pendulum is so long at 13 feet that it swings just once every 2 seconds. In fact, it is said that on a clear day you can see the time from a distance of 2 miles away. The frame is made from English oak, and the weights are large blocks of stone, but the clock face itself is two-dimensional and simply painted directly onto the church tower. The circular design and the white, blue and red colour scheme tie in well with the village's RAF connections, although we don't know whether this was accidental or by design, and whether it had been touched up or repainted over the years. But it's not just its size that makes this iconic timekeeper extraordinary. Take a closer look and you'll see that it has only one hand. Single-handed clocks were common in the 1600s, but very few from that period have survived. The design takes its inspiration from the sundial, the earliest known form of clock, which uses the sun's position in the sky to judge the time. These one-handed clocks were once an everyday sight on townhouses and church towers. Each hour on the face is split into 4 with red diamond shapes marking each quarter of an hour. So like a sundial, it would be no use if you needed to know the exact time. You'd be better off checking your wristwatch. Historians believe that when these single-handed clocks were designed, it was much less important to keep track of every minute, and people were more likely to rely on the coming of dawn and dusk to denote the beginning and end of their days. The Coningsby church clock has to be wound by hand, and records of the daily windings go back to 1780. Around the year 1800, the church authorities paid £2 per year to have it wound, which is just over £200 in today's money. The clock is struck every hour, on the hour, for hundreds of years, except for during the early years of the Second World War, when regular church clocks and bells were silenced, to be used only in an emergency to alert locals of a German invasion. Even today, the tradition of winding the clock manually continues. Official Coningsby clockwinder Mr. Peter Bass climbs the 35 steps up to the mechanism every single day, even Christmas Day. Peter has tirelessly carried out this job for 20 years, and his father did it for 20 years before that. Combined, they have climbed over 500,000 steps in the course of their official duties, equivalent to over 226 miles. When Peter takes a rare holiday, volunteers from the Coningsby local community stand in for him. His wages and all maintenance costs for the clock are paid by Coningsby Town Council. Only about a dozen one-handed clocks are thought to still exist in England today. If you ever stop by Coningsby to have a look, I hear that the local historic pubs are well worth a visit. The White Bull is a mid-18th century coaching inn that still has its original stables to house travellers' weary horses. Just a mile away in Tattershall Thorpe, the Blue Bell is even older, dating back to 1257, and is said to have been visited by King Henry VIII and later by the famous Dam Busters RAF squadron. The inn is reputedly haunted, which is a story for another day. Perhaps a leisurely drink there is enjoyed all the more if you adopt the more unhasty approach to time that our ancestors did with their single-handed clocks, taking note of the gentle rhythms of the light and dark, rather than closely watching every minute tick by. You've been listening to Curious Britain. This show is run by a husband and wife team, me, Prash, and my wife Melissa, and between the two of us we do all the research, writing, narration and audio production. We think there's so much to learn and explore about the ancient isles we call home. Few places around the globe are shrouded in as much myth, legend, history and mystery as Britain, and we spend our spare time learning about intriguing parts of the UK's cultural heritage, so we can bring the stories to you in audio form. Join us again next time as we continue to explore the vibrant history of England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, from fairies and folk tales to hoaxes, cryptids, quirky snippets of history and more, in this celebration of everything curious about Britain.